Get Rich Slow with John Wolf. And today I want to talk to you about buying multifamily properties. Now, I'm not going to talk much about the loans. I'm more talking about my experience with my purchase and just how it goes in general at a very basic level. So, the first step with buying anything with financing is going to be getting your pre-approval. And I have other videos about the great ways that you can do it as an owner-occupied purchaser of a 1, 2, 3, fourplex with FHA, with VA, and how you can do it with conventional. And you should go watch those videos. But once we're past that, and the unique pieces about the down payment amount and the unique pieces about the totally different way income is qualified on those programs, and now you're shopping, what you're really looking for is a property where the gross payments of all four of the units would at least cover the payment and the expenses of the property if you were doing a 25% down standard investment purchaser and provided a 3 to 6% cash on cash return year one. And that is with putting 25% down. Now, the actual math, how it works when you're the one occupying the property and you have to stay there for a year is totally different. And just to give you a general idea of the way that my math landed, for 3 of the 4 units, the entire payment almost made the mortgage payment and not all the rest of the expenses. And that does mean that after I move out and can rent the 4th unit, it's going to have at least a small positive cash flow in the start of the 2nd year. And that was with only 3.5% down. And that's one of the cool things about the FHA side. VA would have been actually better. I didn't serve our nation in that capacity, however, so FHA was the best bet for me. And on the conventional side, there's a 20% option if you're going to live there, as opposed to pretty much all the standard investment conforming programs would be 25% down if you're not going to live there. Although there are portfolio loans which are not backed by the federal government, so the interest rates are much higher, but they do let you put less down some of the time. But anyways, the actual purchase process is what I want to talk to you about. So most people might be used to seeing a house online and then going to an open house and looking all around and poking around and asking questions and then doing some more research and putting in an offer. If your offer is accepted, then inspections happen and eventually you close on the house. And 30-day timetable from seeing the home for the very first time to actually owning it is not unusual at all in purchasing a single family home. But for fourplexes, that is very unusual. So just to give you an idea on fourplexes, which is what I did, the process is totally different. So what you do is you actually just look at the property online, because there are people renting out all or most of the units, and you cannot bug renters. Any lease that's currently in place stands and transfers with the transfer of ownership. So you look at it online, and then if you're like me and you can't not get more information, I drove by the place a couple times, not being too creepy, just because I wanted to see the outside and feel the neighborhood well. And then we put an offer in. My offer was actually a contingent offer to start with. There was some type of an investment purchaser, and they decided to drop out for whatever reason. And then from that point, we scheduled, it was about 2 weeks, I think, for a time to go look at the place. Because, all of the people living there had to be given notice that, some ugly guy was going to come around and look through the place. So we did that, and then we scheduled an inspection, and the inspection took another week, and then some work got done, which getting a little bit of work done when you do a single family home purchase is pretty common, especially in the lower price ranges. Getting a little work done when you have 4 houses pasted together, I'd be shocked if that didn't happen almost every time. And so a couple weeks later, I didn't want to pay for another inspector since there weren't too serious things. So, I put a bunny suit on and made sure all the work got done in the crawl space. You don't have to do the crawl space part, I promise, but that's me. Anyways, once we saw the work was done and the very final seller credits closing costs were negotiated, then the loan, which was in process already, went into high gear and we closed. And a typical amount of time it takes to close on a fourplex really is closer to 60 days. And that is because the initial time you, even as the buyer, can look at the property is usually a couple weeks after you put in the offer, not before you put in the offer like it would be with a single family purchase. Anyway, so far I am experiencing the joys of being a landlord. The first thing that surprised me a ton right when we were closing on it is that you actually get a bunch of monies sent right back to you at closing, or a couple days later anyways, when you purchase a fourplex. And the way that is when I was purchasing, the owner was actually living there and he wanted to stay there for 55 days. So he prepaid me 55 days worth of rent. The transaction, finished near the middle of the month. So I was actually sent a check by the owner for all of the, pro rata rents for that month. For the 3 other renters, I also got a check for all the deposits from all of the renters. So the net cost out of pocket by the end of the transaction, especially considered I got another month's worth of rent and had a full month before the first mortgage payment, was actually a lot better than I thought it was going to be, which that's great news. And so far, just the difficulties and headaches of being a landlord are just, figuring out all the utility payments, getting all the renters just on a nice automatic payment plan. And I've already had to fix a baseboard heater, which turned out to be super easy, barely an inconvenience. Anyways, if you have any questions you want to ask me, you can like, share, subscribe, comment. And again, I'm a loan officer in Oregon and Washington. So if you want help or to learn more, hit me up. Have an awesome day. Oh, and I'm supposed to show my license info. So there's me with my beautiful license number if you want to look me up. Take care. Bye.